E-L-O-E-J, a little aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world at breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome, everybody. Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. We are brought to you by Quintana Roo, Forum Smart Swim Goggles, Master Spas, Clash Endurance, Premium Plus Sports, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. We just sent out, 3,256 grants totaling $6.2 million. Keep challenged athletes in the game of life through sports. Our next guest, the gentleman we had the opportunity to meet last week, Mr. Paul Felder, the Irish Dragon from UFC. And he actually got to compete with Haven Shepherd from CAF, along with Mr. Lionel Sanders. How you doing, Paul?
I'm great, Bob. I'm just got done training, so I'm ready to go, ready to have a nice chat. Last week was amazing, working with all those people and to get out there with the CAF athletes and the pros, man. That was very exciting for me to be out there on the same course with those guys and gals. So
that's so fun. And so take me back. Growing up, you got into you started getting into martial arts when you were 12 years old. You started pretty young.
Yeah, I started as a kid. I got obsessed with it pretty early on. Ninja Turtles, Jackie Chan movies, Bruce Lee, anything that had to do with martial arts, I was obsessed with. Not necessarily even fighting, but just traditional martial arts, Taekwondo, the crazy kicks. I would be doing, fake fighting competitions with my friends back in the day. Before we even started training, we thought we were we're like ninjas. We thought we were black belts. And then when I finally started, went to a real gym and started training, I was like, oh my God, I don't know anything. So that's how it started. And then it drifted towards mixed martial arts and kickboxing as I got older, in my 20s, and the UFC was starting to get really popular. The Ultimate Fighter show was out on TV then, and I was watching that in college. So that's what really kind of made me shift gears from Taekwondo, karate, judo, and things like that, and go a little more mainstream into the more combat side of things.
Well, when I look at your background, it's sort of you were basically you're thinking about becoming an actor, right? Performance. Yeah. I'm going. So the idea is not to get hit. Sort of be a stuntman, be that guy who's like, you're the guy who bring the stuntman in now, and then I walk off the set and nobody kicks me in the head. But you went the other way.
Yeah. So I also got bit by the acting bug in high school because I switched schools as a junior. So, I mean, that's kind of a rough time in a teenager's life to try to uproot it, and moved out of the city. We moved to the suburbs. I grew up in the inner city in Philly, and then suddenly we were, 30 minutes outside of the city, and I didn't know anybody, had to go to a brand new school. And I found an acting class, just as an elective, and I took that. And even when I was doing martial arts, I kind of wanted to do martial art movies. So then when I got into theater and acting, I went to college for it. I slowed down on the training side of things as far as fighting stuff goes. But then one summer, I didn't have any acting jobs going on. I had graduated college. I was working in the theater professionally, not making any money, but it was professional. And one of my friends took an amateur fight in Atlantic City, and he did really well. And I was like, man, if he can do that, why can't I do that? So one summer I decided to train for an amateur fight. And then that kind of snowballed into the whole fighting again situation. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
So you pro since 2011. And I've seen that your career, you're 17-6 or 17-5. I've seen a couple different stats out there. But the main thing with your career was the fact that you were a fan favorite. I mean, there was a number of times where the fight of the night, performance of the night. Yeah. When you went into the ring, you knew that you were going to be mixing it up, and there was a good chance that either you or the other guy was going to be carried out of there.
Somebody's going to the hospital, Bob. That was kind of my mantra when I was fighting. And it's one of the reasons I decided to walk away from it a little bit earlier. I feel like I definitely still had a lot of fight left in me. I'm obviously still in great physical condition. I'm in good shape, but when you fight those kind of fights, you definitely have a shelf life. And it can easily go from, oh, I'm fine, to things aren't fine. And you go down that slippery slope really quick. So I decided, I left it all out there for what, 7 or 8 years in the UFC, trying to get to the belt. I got as high as number 6 in the world in the lightweight division, the baddest dudes that the UFC has to offer. And like you said, every time I went out there, man, I either came out victorious or gave it absolutely everything I had to try to get that W. And I have no regrets. I really don't. I had a great career, and now I do color commentary for the UFC. So I'm still involved in it. And now I get to do this sport, which is the perfect transition for me as far as competitive spirit, and also having multiple things to be obsessed with. That's what I love about triathlon, right? As an MMA fighter, you have to obsess over so many things. Your wrestling, your jujitsu, your kickboxing, your boxing, your conditioning, everything. And now triathlon's there's even more things to obsess about. So great.
And more little pieces of equipment, all this different stuff.
I mean, yeah, what you're going to put on your bike versus your nutrition plan, your helmet, your kit. I mean, there's so many things that are so important to make the overall race. It's just like fighting.
The thing about fighting that drove me crazy watching videos and everything is that when you guys are cutting weight, is there anything worse than that? Because you have to feel so weak and then go, oh, now I got to go in against one of the baddest mofos in the world. Yeah. And I'm feeling like I can barely get out of the car.
It's definitely the black eye on our sport. And it's one of those things, it's weird. There's no reason that we still do it, but everybody does it. So if everybody's doing it, you kind of have to do it because you'll be undersized, right? And there's a few brave guys out there that don't. They're like, they walk into there and they fight in their natural weight classes. Yeah. But I can say for me, man, that was always the ugliest and hardest part of the whole thing. Cause I used to be a lot bigger when I would lift a lot more and I was fighting. I used to walk around well over 190 pounds and fight at 155 pounds. So
wait, 155?
I fought at 155. Yeah.
And so you would have cut that much weight.
Yeah.
Oh my, that can't be healthy.
Well, I mean, if you saw me like 10 weeks out from my fight and then you saw me the day of the weigh-in, you would legit think that I was sick. Like you start to look like you have cancer, to be honest with you. That's how just drawn out you are. No fat. We're eating like, 500 calories a couple of days before the weigh-ins. And then you cut all that water. I mean, I would cut sometimes like 14, 15 pounds the night before of just water.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then but once you've weighed in, then you can sort of eat as much as you want in the race.
Then you can rehydrate. Yeah. You get at least 24 hours. Usually it's more than that. So, I mean, we weigh in at like 9 to 11 in the morning on Friday. Yeah. And then the fights start anywhere from 3 p.m. to sometimes, depending on where in the world you're fighting, you might be, I would fight at like midnight sometimes. So I'd have all that time to I would put on at least 20 pounds.
In basically a day and a half or something.
I mean, by the time I was done hydrating, because I would take 2 hours where I would only take in like carbohydrates, salt, and liquids to kind of get the body prepped to be able to eat again. Because if you're that dehydrated, I mean, anybody that's done triathlon, you know that too. As soon as you're done, you're not like, give me a burger. You're like, I just need soda or something to drink. Right. It was the same with our weight cuts. All I wanted was something cold and with sugar and salt in it. And then you could start to eat again.
When I was watching some of the fights, some of the greatest fights from the Irish Dragon, it was really fun to watch. But when you look back at it, what were some of your favorite matches?
I would say the craziest experience probably of my career had to have been when I flew to New Zealand to fight Dan Hooker, who was a Kiwi. And that was a main event 5-rounder. Both of us were really fighting. That was a pivotal fight for both of us in our careers. We're both on winning streaks. And that was the fight that was going to send one of us closer to the belt and one of us a few steps back. And unfortunately, that was one where I lost a very close.
It was very close.
Decision. Yeah. And that was kind of the beginning of the end for me, because if I had won that, I'd have moved closer to fighting for the belt, but that one hurt. But it was also just I mean, to share the cage with that guy and go toe to toe like that in front of that crowd in New Zealand, in Auckland. You know, I went down there 2 weeks early. I had my whole crew with me, my coaches. We had a beautiful Airbnb right near this park in Auckland. I mean, that's a memory that it will be with me forever. It was incredible. That was one of them for sure.
Well, it's interesting. The pro triathletes, they can train together, they can travel together and go out and race and know it's them against the course at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You're against another person. I mean, can you be friends with these guys before the fight?
It's tough. It really is. Even when there's mutual respect and no real animosity towards your opponent, it's still that maybe a handshake, maybe a like, how you doing, man? That's it. I mean, because you know, it's not just like a competition where you're racing, like you said. I'm going in, I'm trying to elbow that guy, punch that guy in the face and take what's mine. So it's much different. And then sometimes guys take that to the next level where it helps them to kind of hate their opponent.
Right.
I was never like that, but some guys would purposely kind of almost, you know, puff their chest at you because they don't want to get soft towards you. They don't want to be friends. Yeah.
So I saw there was one time you were actually, I think, there to do commentary on an event, right? And it's 5 days before the competition. And they're like, we need you to fight.
Yeah.
And if you weren't in triathlon shape, I'm guessing there's no way you could have done all the weight cutting and all the rest of that to get in the ring.
It was hard enough even when I had done all that triathlon training. But yeah, you're right. I mean, and I made that clear during all the pre-interviews and all that. I was on the treadmill when my manager called me and he's like, listen, I know this is crazy, but like, what's your weight? What do you think? And I was like, well, let me go check. I did an hour run and I was in the ballpark. I called my guy this guy, Ian Larios, who used to do all my cooking and all my nutrition to kind of help me get down the weight. He's like, listen, it's not going to be easy, but this would be epic if we did this. So we all agreed that, you know, we were going to go out there and make the weight. But trust me, Bob, that was probably some of the hardest 24 hours before a fight that I have ever had. I didn't sleep 1 minute, not 1 minute. So from the time I made weight, it was probably about midnight, 12:30 at night. I was up all the way until I had to get on that scale and weigh in.
And well, then you're fighting against Dos Anjos, who's a badass.
The Savage. The dude's the Savage. He's a former champ. I mean, I didn't want to pass up that opportunity because even though I was technically at the time, I was ranked higher, he was coming back down to our division. He had moved up for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's an absolute legend. So I was like, I want that name on my resume, you know? So I thought I could beat him. I really did think that I had the skills. If I had a little more training, I mean, I probably could have won, but it is what it is.
It went 5, right?
It went off 5. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a split decision.
Yeah. But that's one of the, I have a lot of split decisions on my record. That's one of them where I'm like, it shouldn't have been a split decision. Like
I saw the look on your face when the guy when he said that you had won the fight. I'm like, wait, did he watch the same fight I was just in?
These judges are getting so bad. And that's one of them. And I was in it. And I'm looking around like, hey, come on, guys. Like, it's not a split decision. I won one round, I think. And it was very competitive, but it can be competitive and not be a split decision. And Rafael won. He won.
Rafael won. So you find the sport of triathlon through YouTube, seeing Lionel Sanders, the guy who just goes out and something you could relate to. This guy goes and suffers for a living, which is what you did. And you're watching these YouTube videos. What was it about watching Lionel that made you realize, you know, at this sport, it could be nice for me because I can't just not do sport. I'll balloon up. I need something.
I did. Yeah. And that was kind of what I was looking for. I was looking for different run workouts. It was kind of what I think I was searching. I was like tempo runs. And, you know, I was learning all these terms just through kind of research. And I wasn't trying to compete in races, but I was like, all right, well, this will be fun while we're stuck in it. You know, we were all in quarantine.
COVID time. Yeah.
I had a really nice trail by my house that I had started running and I was just getting bored I would just go out and run. And I was like, okay, well, because for fighting, we would only run to lose weight, really. So you'd run, you were either doing all out sprints or you were jogging slowly. So I was looking up workouts. I found Lionel and I don't think I had realized how epic these guys push themselves until I started stumbling on his stuff. I didn't realize the suffering that goes into this races. So that's really what just started to really attract me to the sport, was to see the level of commitment and the how much they suffer and push, and especially Lionel, you know, see him on the bike pushing that kind of power. And I didn't even know what any of that meant yet, but I knew it looked like it hurt really, really bad. And I would go out and try to run, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm nowhere near these paces and I'm suffering. So I can only imagine running, you know, 5:05s per mile or whatever this guy is running for half marathon. It's insane.
People don't get it. They don't get it. And I always talk about our sport as an equal opportunity abuser. It doesn't really care if you're a former UFC guy, or if you're a former basketball guy, or you're missing a leg, or if you're fat or you're short. It doesn't matter. Get from point A to point B as fast as you can, and then we'll talk about it.
Yep. Yeah. And it's going to hurt. If
It's going to hurt.
If you're going from point A to point B as hard as you can, I don't care if it's the full Ironman distance, a 70.3, or a sprint, because it only gets faster as you lower the distance, but it's still just as hard. That's what I love about the sport as well, right? You're either going full bore the entire time for a shorter race, or you're just suffering for longer, but you're still pushing the limits of how fast you can do that distance no matter what, if you're at least trying to compete, which is what I'm trying to do, right? I'm not just out there to finish a race anymore. Like,
no, you're doing,
I want to do it. I want to get fast, you know what I mean? But it's a process. I've learned that too. It's not going to happen overnight. Just like fighting, you're not going to be a good mixed martial artist in a year. It's going to take time. So I'm willing to put the time in.
How important was it for you? Because it's one thing to be doing mixed martial arts and UFC when you're a single guy, or even just when you're married. But when you become a dad,
yeah,
it's got to change you, because you know there's somebody counting on you. You're going in the ring where you could lose your life. You could become paralyzed. I'm watching you getting stitched up in the locker room after a fight. They're like, it's like no big deal. That's what we do. Did that help in terms of making that transition from, okay, I think I'm done with this sport. This other one, I'm going to suffer, but I don't, unless I get hit by a car or something, I think I'm good.
Yeah. That, the last few years of my career, when I started to fight at the elite level, is when it started to get really hard for me, because I was gone for a long time, because my main training camp that I found best for me at the time was in Milwaukee, and I still lived in Philly, and I would go out there for 6 to 8 weeks. I'd come back and visit maybe once or twice for a couple of days, or bring Christine and Ashling out for a couple of days. But I mean, that's nothing.
No.
And then, you know, the higher level of the guys that you're fighting, the more injuries that you're prone to get. And when I fought this guy, James Vick, in Phoenix, the one time I actually collapsed a lung. It didn't heal on its own. I had to stay overnight, and they put the little pin in, thinking that it would kind of, you know, they suck out the air around your lung and it kind of reattaches to, you know, where it's supposed to be. It didn't happen. I was in the hospital for an entire week, had to have surgery to reattach my lung to my chest wall so that it would open back up. I have scars on my chest here from that. I have a plate in my forearm from breaking my ulna bone in half during a fight. I've broken both orbitals really badly. I've had rhabdo really badly, where I'm peeing what looks like Coca-Cola because my kidneys aren't functioning properly. And going home to your daughter after all that, and your eye is like completely shut. And I was getting tired of going home like that to the family. So that's how that made it
transition. Okay. So rather than jump into, you're not the type of guy, I'm going to do a sprint and I'll do an Olympic. No, you're going to Virginia. You're going to do a 70.3 and with a 5-mile climb in it, and probably 90 degrees. And
it was horrible. that first one was horrible. That's, you know what, as far as the courses that I've raced, I'm much better now, but that is still probably the hardest course that I've tackled.
No question.
Nobody had raced it yet. That was the first time they went to Virginia, Blue Ridge area.
Yep.
In Roanoke. And so nobody really knew. All people knew was just from scouting the course. And you know how it is. You go on that website. I went on that website. It said rolling. Of
course it does. If they say brutal hills, nobody's signing up.
Nobody will do it.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, all right, some rolling hills. I can do rolling hills. Run was flat. First of all, it was not flat.
No, there was not a flat part on that course.
300 or 400 feet, which that's nothing. But after you've just done 4,000 feet of climbing on a bike, and it was 90 degrees. It was brutal there. It was brutal. But
So,
I got through it.
Yeah. You got through it. What, 22nd year age division, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Nearly died in a half marathon. And
I didn't know how to I didn't know nutrition yet. I knew a little bit, but I definitely didn't take in enough sodium for that.
Right.
Not even close.
Well, and what type of bike were you riding?
I was riding the Cervelo P3, but I had no race wheels. It was literally like the most basic training type wheels that you could have on there imaginable.
And you probably didn't have the right gearing for that climb.
Yeah, and my fitting wasn't right. I didn't have the right cassette on the back for that. Like I didn't know what I was doing.
Which is cool because you still got through it, right? You still got through it, and then you come away from that getting pumped up, and now I want to go do more of this stuff.
Yeah, and I left that race. Well, when I finally came to and was functioning, unable to walk, I was like, okay, I don't ever want to do that again. I want to race the next race.
Yeah.
I don't want to survive the next race. And that was my only motivation for the next one that I did. I was like, I don't want to ever feel like I'm just trying. And again, it will happen to me again. There's no doubt about it, because the better you get, the conditions will get to you sometimes. The course will win sometimes. But the next one was in
Atlantic City,
Oregon, and I did much better at that one.
Well, in Atlantic City, 2021, 9th in the age group. Yeah. And you're talking about, when you start talking 33, 34 swim, 225, 41 bike, 138, 25 half marathon, 440 under 5 hours, 447, 25. That's a real deal.
Yeah. And just recently in Oceanside, I was able to get, I think I did
443.
I did like 32.
232 on a really tough bike, and then a 132 half marathon.
Yeah, happy with that. I'm really happy with that half marathon for where I'm at right now. So
well, and especially I'm guessing you haven't really spent that much time in the ocean. The great thing about the Oceanside race is you start in the surf.
Yeah, that was terrifying. So luckily I was with Lionel, right? We were racing that one. He was out there too. So I was staying in the same hotel.
Yeah.
And I think 3 times we went to the ocean and started practicing. And I'll tell you what, to anybody that's ever doing an ocean start like that, get into that, get into those waves, because if you're not ready and you're just like, oh, I'll just take my time, and you won't, because it's race day. You're going to go out hot and you're going to get
smashed.
You're going to be gassed right off the bat. You might even stop because you'll get the panic feeling, because if you go up to breathe and there's a wave over top of you, so I got that all out of the way in the first couple of days we got there. And then by the time it was ready to race, I knew exactly what I had to do to get out there. But it was still like, oh man, I still had that 1 second where I was going through the surf and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then as soon as I got out into the open, I was like, all right, let's go. Turn it.
And it's cold too. It's one thing when you have big surf and it's 70. And it's another thing when you have big surf and it's 60. Because it's like you go under, you're sort of in the washing machine, and you're like, oh my God. But once you get out past them, once you get past the breakers, then it's just swimming to a buoy. It's just like anything
beautiful swim. Yeah, it really was.
Beautiful swim. Yeah.
And I got with I was with a pretty good group there that we all kind of stayed with each other the whole time, but not too crazy. So I feel like I got out ahead of some of the chaos that can be with those age groupers. I started a little earlier than I probably even should have, but I was able to hang with that group. So that's the goal moving forward. Is like, what am I going to swim? Okay, I'll go with the group two ahead of me, so that I don't get stuck in the washing machine too bad.
Exactly. Well, and I'm guessing not too many people are throwing elbows at you, because I think that would be a mistake.
Yeah, well, because I'll take their number off of their cap and I'll get them when we get on the run later in the race.
One of my favorite things was you and Rudy going back and forth on Instagram. Rudy Garcia Tolson, double above knee amputee. And he like starts talking smack to you on Instagram.
I know. I wasn't ready for it. And then the PTO, obviously I'm there doing all that stuff at the PTO.
Yeah.
And we're filming stuff for my journey from MMA into triathlon. And I'm working with those guys a lot. And they're like, hey, check this out. Do you have a response? I'm like, yeah, sure. What's he say? And then coming at me. I'm like, oh, all right. So and then we even messaged each other. He's like, don't hold back, bro. He's like, let's get this hyped up. You can talk all the trash you want. I was like, my man, all right. All right. He knew I was a fighter. He knew that, we like a little trash talk. So,
Well, and your teammate, Haven Shepherd, you know her background, and just seeing where this young woman has come from, the tragedy of having both legs blown off as an infant or as a baby to now making a Paralympic team when she's 18 years old.
It's incredible, man. I remember when I first started to hear people, have you heard her story yet? You can't imagine that that's what you're going to hear. Do you know what I mean? Even a lot of these people have incredible stories, but when I heard, I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And to do what she's doing now and to push through that, you want to talk about perseverance. It was really an awesome weekend to be with all those athletes and to see them just like, there's nothing wrong with them in their minds. You know what I mean? It's like, listen, this is just something I got to deal with. It really does make you take stock in your own life and sit back and think, okay, things can always be worse. And they think the same thing, right? Things could be even worse. I'm here, I'm racing, I'm fit. So incredible.
Yeah, and so your team wins, right? Haven has a great swim. She's like third or fourth out of the water. And then Lionel goes by people like they're standing still. And actually it's funny because Sam Long was like, I went up to Lionel saying, hey, should we just ride together? And he's like, I'm pushing as many watts as I can for as long as I can, dude. So you're on your own. It wasn't, this is going to be an exhibition. It's like, no, if we're putting a number on, we're racing.
Yeah. Yeah. I that's the first time I've chatted with Sam on Instagram and I follow all these guys, but that was the first time I got to meet him. He's like, nice to finally meet you in person. Sorry, I just found out that we're going to have to go out there and smash ourselves on Sunday, because he was not too thrilled about that. But that's Lionel, man. And that's what I love too. He's like, and I was the same way. The PTO kept telling me, you don't have to worry about it too much. Because originally they wanted to do a 5K for us.
Right.
When it was
going to have
to get some more celebrities around it, right? And it just, how that is. There, 1 minute they commit, and another minute they can't. Right. So I was like, look, if we've got other athletes doing this, let's do the 10K. Kevin's out there from GT. I'm like, why can't we do the 10K? I don't want to go all the way out there for a 5K.
Exactly. Well, and especially with our guys, I'm like, is there weren't a lot of celebrities. Listen, they got hit by COVID as well. They couldn't do movies or anything else. Now things are back. They're off in Europe filming stuff. So I was like, hey, you know what? Rudy was going to do the swim. Roderick was going to do the swim. Willie was going to do the swim. Those guys are great runners. Let's have them do the run, because I think that's more visual, right? Rudy's he's run sub 17, 10, 5Ks. So he's the real deal.
Yeah, no, I was worried, man. I had between Rudy, Heather, I was worried about, and I knew I would have a lead, and that made me even more nervous, because then the pressure's on.
Yes.
To make sure that I seal the deal on that race. Whereas, let's say it was more even and maybe I had to hunt people down, I think that would have been easier for me, because then I'm like, I got to get to that person. Whereas now it's the only thing pushing me in that race was myself for the win and for my own PR. And I was like, okay, well, and that course was not flat at all.
No, that's a tough run course.
It's hard. That's a hard run, man. I had no idea it was as hard as it was. I mean, in hindsight, I'm glad it was, because that makes me even happier with the performance. But I was expecting, I had heard there's a hill. I was like, all right, there's one hill. I'm like, I didn't know we had to go up it, down it, back up it, over it, back up it, back down. It's really 4 hills that you got to go up.
Exactly. And you went 45-34, which is pretty impressive on that course.
No, I did. So that the way they tracked us was through the transition.
Oh, so that's you. Yeah. So you were listening.
My watch, I was 39.
Did you run sub 40 on that course?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That was the goal. The goal was sub 40. And that was on a flat course. So the fact that I was able to do it on that LA course, I'm thinking if it was a flat all out run on a 10K, I could probably get 37 and change.
Now, have you trained much with Lionel?
So just when we've been in these, off on race weeks, unfortunately. Right. So it's been a lot of just like little runs and tapers and a lot of swims in open water.
Right.
But we want to plan a little thing out in Tucson where I go out there, and I'm sure they're going to try to film that for some more stuff with the PTO. So
very cool.
but that's what I want to do. I mean, in another year, I think I'll be a little bit more beneficial to him. Right now, I'm just trying to, stay as close to him and anywhere near him when we're training, because the dude is just, and his swim is getting pretty damn good, man.
Everything. You know what? When we were in St. George, I told him, I said, Lionel, I've seen you race a lot. You are now playing chess rather than checkers.
Yeah, now he's in the game, dude.
Because when usually it would be Sam and Lionel and Sebastian Kienle, those three guys would, sort of come out of the water around the same time.
Yeah.
And they did, but Lionel didn't go with those guys. He stayed back. And I asked him why. He said, well, I've walked a lot of marathons. Yeah. So I know that it's not the best thing to go push 400 watts up a hill when everybody's sitting behind me. So he was just the way he did that race, and following off Oceanside. When you're 2 minutes back of Alistair Brownlee at the beginning of a half marathon, usually you're going to be 4 minutes back, not catching him. So it was great. What's next for you?
I'm doing a local race in the Pocono Mountains in PA.
Yeah.
There's a Pocono Tri-Fest, and it's brutal. It's like 3,800 feet bike, over almost 1,000 feet on the half marathon. But it should be a nice, crisp lake swim. I'm thinking wetsuit, so I'm hoping to get a pretty fast swim, but I want to crush this course. It's in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay.
And that's the next race. Then I'm thinking about doing that Clash race in July in Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, yeah.
That's I've never done one of their races yet.
They're
and
fun.
I love the track idea. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do that one. So I think and then I'm either going to we're talking to the PTO. They really want me to go and do Dallas, a race in Dallas. I'm either going to do that, or if travel or something doesn't work out, I'll do 70.3 Atlantic City again. And I will try to crush my last time from last year.
Now, obviously, the full Ironman is in there somewhere. Is that next year, year after? What do you think?
That's next year, because me and my fiance have another one on the way that's due in August. And I was talking to my coach David, and he's like, "You might the amount of training that we're gonna do." He's like, "Let's wait a little bit until the baby's settled in, you guys are comfortable, and then next year, I absolutely want to do a full. I got to know what that feels like."
Yes, you do. Yeah, because if you like to suffer, you'll like the full.
And that's all it is. I mean, that's all I keep hearing from people is, you hit many walls. There's multiple walls that you've got to push through.
You'll love this, Paul. So I'm interviewing Jan Frodeno when he won his second world championship in Kona. And he was so in control all day long. And I'm like, Jan, that looked like that was one of your easier events. He goes, I was planning to drop out 15 times. Right? There was 15 different times that I was like, my condo's right there. I'm having the worst day of my life. I feel like crap. These guys are going to run me down. And that's a guy who's leading and winning, and you're going, wow. But that's, and you've experienced that, right?
Yeah. That's the game. That's what I love about it is, it doesn't matter if you're doing your first triathlon or you're Jan Frodeno, one of the greatest of all time, the greatest of all time right now.
Yeah.
And you're still thinking the same damn thing. It's just, you get better, and some guys will just be thinking the same thing and they're just the best, but everybody at some point is going, this absolutely sucks.
I can't believe I have to run after this. There's no way my legs are going to hold me up. I'm going to get out now. That's great. Paul, such a pleasure to get you to chat and to have you in our sport. It's really, really a treat, man.
Man, I'm glad for any attention you guys, the fact that you guys even want to talk to me makes me happy, because all I want to do is get more people to realize what I finally realized, and how great this sport is and how accessible it is for people. And I'm hoping, the more accessible it becomes and more people we can get doing it, it's a great way to get out and do something and get your butt off the damn couch. Anybody can do it. You got a bike, I don't care what the bike is, go start riding it. You know what I mean? Go jog. It's an easy sport, but a hard sport all at the same time. So
my favorite thing is I'm in the what I call the 70 to death category now. So, but we've got all my buddies out there in the 60 or 65 to death category. Every race, we're out there at 4:30 in the morning. It's dark. We're standing in transition. It's like, why do we still do this?
Yeah.
Because we can. We love it.
Exactly.
You're in a beer garden at 9 a.m. There's nothing better in the whole world than to be, and you're never competing against the other guy. That's the great thing, is you're competing. Yeah, I mean, you're at a level where you're competing in the age group. At the same time, it's you against the course and you against yourself.
Yeah, because I don't know who's who out there at this
No.
point. Right? I mean, until I start to really get to the front and maybe realize, oh, okay, I'm there's not many people in front of me anymore. Like I'm up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you against your time. It's you against besting yourself from the last time. It's you, can I dig a little deeper this time around? And that's what's so great about it. And what you're talking about, the 60 to death or whatever, all that. But that's what I love, is the fact that it's never, if I don't want it to stop and I can keep myself in relatively injury-free shape,
Yep.
I can be doing this until I don't want to do it anymore, or until my body says, okay, you can't do it anymore.
Exactly. And there's nobody going to be hitting you, right? There's nobody
No.
going to be hitting you, kicking you.
Just in
none
the
of that
swing a
stuff.
little bit, Bob.
Hey,
But
so
I'm
hopefully we'll try to get you out here in October. We do our big San Diego Triathlon Challenge. 150 challenge athletes from all over the world will be out here October 22nd, 23rd weekend. It'd be a treat to have you with us.
Oh man, yeah, maybe.
I love it. Paul, thank you for taking so much time. Really a treat to get to have you in our sport.
No, dude, again, pleasure to be on here, man. I've seen all these. I've seen you interview all of these guys so many times. So to be able to sit and chat with you, and to have met you last week and to work with all the challenge athletes, it's a dream come true. This has been a blast and a journey that it's just getting started for me, I think.
This is just getting started. It's going to be so much fun to watch. Paul Felder has been our guest, the Irish Dragon, who is bringing, that's right. Oh, you are the elbow guy, man. I don't ever want to get close to you. I saw you with that one guy on the mat. You gave him, he was night. He was gone.
Yes, sir.
He's like tapping you, trying to dude, I'm
that
done.
guy's the champion now, Bob.
Is he really the guy you crushed?
That guy you're talking about is now the baddest lightweight on the planet. And I'm the last guy to beat him. That dude is, I mean, he's a much different athlete now. He's much better, but 11 fights ago was the last time he lost, and it was me.
That's cool. Good for you, man. Hey, Paul, we'll see you at hopefully the race coming up soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
Love it. Paul Felder again has been our guest. This is Breakfast with Bob, Not Quite Cohen edition. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch you next time. See ya.